Before I start this video, I kind of want to set it up. This interview was made by IGN and their Xbox side of things. They had Phil Spencer on right after the E3 of 2021 this year. It was about a bunch of games, and one of the last questions was about Halo. This question was asked by Ryan McCaffrey. This is going to sound like a loaded question, and I honestly don't mean it to be this. But how much is riding on Halo Infinite? In the sense that it's been 6 years between mainline entries. Halo 5's campaign, certainly by a lot of us at IGN, wasn't as well received as we'd want it to be, although the multiplayer very much was. The very public delay last year, which obviously you guys took it to the chin for it, but it was obviously the right decision. You want to give the game as much time as you can. Bringing Joseph Staten back in. How much is riding on Halo Infinite as far as the future of that franchise? And this is Phil Spencer's response. I don't think about it that way. Of course you don't. Like the future of the franchise, I think Halo will be here 10 years from now. Is Infinite going to be the linchpin on whether it survives that long? Absolutely not. The game has such a rabid fan base and such a history and lore that it's just an IP that's going to be with us. We don't take that for granted, but I definitely believe in my core that that is true. And there is more to it. He also goes on and talks about he doesn't want to put pressure on any of the game studios and things like that. Basically trying to be the cool boss and be like, hey, do what you can. I like the fact he's such a laid-back guy and all, but to be quite honest, if that's what the idea has been with 343 since Bungie left Microsoft to work on Destiny, then Infinite is in trouble. Whether you liked anything from the Halo universe after Reach or not, Halo hasn't felt right. It doesn't have the passion and the care it once had. So forgive me if Phil doesn't sound like this. I'm the cool boss, and I let my team of developers live in La La Land for 2.5 years, and I'm cool with shit graphics. Let's show it off at E3 2020 Showcase. Then everybody freaks out when the community is trashing graphics, so you delay the game to fix them. Let alone the fact that you have brutes with no facial expressions, literally a blank face of confusion. And the poster boy for those idiots is named Craig, which fuck you, by the way. The Craig community deserves better. I'll start a Craig 2 movement because fuck you, that's why. As much good as you've done for the Xbox community, you're going about this all the wrong way. Totally missing the point. To say that Halo Infinite isn't the end-all be-all because games will still be made for the next 10 years sounds like you're backtracking expectations. The moment you bring out an advertisement like you did this year's E3 to get everyone's hopes up with the multiplayer and the story as well done as it was, just to put this statement out shows me how this game will launch, man, and that is so disappointing. I was going to pre-order this title even with its past installments based off of E3, but here we are. Sometimes it's best to just keep your mouth shut, then say something that could be misinterpreted. I'll start off by saying that the story trailer looked awesome, and the characters looked so well done in multiplayer, in comparison to Halo 5's dumpster fire of character customization. I mean, that armor is horrific. One thing I'm confused about through this whole game is making the multiplayer side free to play. Was that to push microtransactions in the season pass and last minute bring that info out? How do you justify the purchase of Infinite's campaign and their horde mode when multiplayer has always been a part of it? Does that justify a $60 or even $70 price tag? They could offer something else alongside that's completely new, but if it's not, can you really charge full price for a title that always has made you pay for the multiplayer? Or should you knock it down to $40? If I was in yours and 343's position, years ago I would have made polls to find out which parts of the game people liked the most. Best multiplayer, best horde mode type, which story was the best and why, which game had the best character customization, what would you like to see in future installments. This gives you the knowledge of what your fan base wants.
Well, that might be your problem. It's not what you like, it's the consumer.
Phil, you saying it's not the end-all be-all for Infinite is like you saying it's a AAA title we're treating like a free-to-play game. We're in it for the long haul, not for the first year. Which really means we're launching it unfinished to possibly finish later with a free-to-play model. We're on a mission to nickel and dime the fuck out of you. With the nostalgia of later titles you grew up with and cosmetics you'll have to open your wallet for because we know you're weak. This title won't be one of the greatest hits you'll talk about for a decade later, but it'll be just enough so you will come back and buy those microtransactions. and you can see how bright the future could look, but it'll never get there. Oh, I see you looking. Looking like you're eyeing down the next Totino's pizza in that freezer, you fat fuck. That's our oh-so-courteous season pass. We'll be taking advantage of you financially with that. But the time doesn't expire, so please, feel free to talk about how excited you are to spend more money on it, and talk about how we're so much better than our competitors. It's kind of like paying money for a cell phone bill monthly, but you're only getting charged again when you use up all your gigs. Don't get us wrong, we're still fucking you, just in a nicer way. Sorry, I guess my inner Griffin Gaming came out, but in all fairness, that's what you did with your statement. You pulled a Griffin Gaming. You twisted it in your own way to create a positive statement, but you also said, I don't care that it's not well received. We'll milk it dry for the next decade. Microtransactions and season passes are still cash grabs. Just because they're doing season passes in a different way doesn't mean it's okay now, regardless of cosmetics or not. Like, what the fuck is wrong with the gaming community? I hate this idea it's okay to charge for microtransactions that are cosmetics when you used to unlock them based off what you've done and accomplished in a game. The community is saying Infinite is the end-all be-all based off the reputation of what Microsoft and 343 can do with the Halo franchise. No shit, you're going to be putting out games for the next 10 years. It's a game you can make bad and people will buy it day one regardless of how it's received by critics and the player base. That's a given. It's how you will represent it. Will you stand by fans and give Infinite a fighting chance to stand toe-to-toe with the best that the Halo franchise has to offer? Or will you continue to overuse the product in the wrong way only to show the audience that the milk's gone bad? How do you win over a community? Make the game great and worth the player base's time. Do right by the community and have them sell your game for you by talking to their friends and their coworkers. I feel like this shouldn't be said, but way more games come out unfinished and bad yearly nowadays than they do finished and good. You telling a studio to do what you can is letting the developers walk all over Microsoft. Listen, this is the main point and I'm done. This line that you said and you twisted in your own way during this interview, Halo Infinite is not the end-all be-all for this franchise, has nothing to do with how long you can milk the Halo franchise. It's about how each installment is made. Does it line up with the wants and needs of the player base? Is it fun to play? Was the microtransactions made for good intentions? So this would be the end-all be-all by how you're looked at by the player base. It's about the game's reputation and if you've lived up to it. Can you truthfully ship this product and feel proud of what you've accomplished? For you and your 343 studio, they haven't done well delivering that to the consumer, and this is what the community means by the end-all be-all. What can you do with a product you purchased to let fans down for years? It's time to step it up and give the community what they want. If you can't tell yourself you've done all these good things listed here, if I were you, I'd delay it another year or even longer and make it right.